This is the Lancer Locker Show on KYNT. Now, let's talk some Mount Marty University athletics with the coaches, as well as your host and the voice of Mount Marty University athletics, Tehl Tanner.
Well, Mount Marty athletics on the Lancer Locker. It is a Monday evening. I'm Tehl Tanner, KYNT 102.1 FM, AM 1450. We got a lot to go over today and a very special featured guest, Coach Dan Fitzsimmons, a man who's been in the area since I don't even know how long. Coached at Yankton High School, was the head coach of the cross-country team back in 1997, was named the head coach of the track and field program in 2002, spent the last 14 years at the University of South Dakota, where he was able to win 5 Summit League Women Championships in a row for cross-country over his 14-year span. That was from 2014 to 2018. He's a 5-time Summit League Coach of the Year, was able to lead his athletes to 48 individual conference titles as well in that span at the University of South Dakota. And then in 2021, just last year, the South Dakota Cross Country and Track and Field Coaches Association inducted Coach Dan Fitzsimmons into their Hall of Fame class. Absolutely amazing guy. I'm looking forward to talking with him on the Lancer Locker here. I actually had that interview with him earlier today, and it was a lot of fun. So we got the replay of that coming up. For now, let's go ahead and go around Lancer Nation. Take a look at some of the athletics going on in the area. First off, the Mount Marty football program traveled to Concordia University on Saturday for some GPAC football action. The Lancers did lose on the road 47-24 against a very good Concordia team that just plays amazing at home every single time. Now they hold a 2-5 overall record, they being the Lancers. Now, this upcoming Saturday, the Lancers return home. It's only going to be the 3rd home game of the season. They've just had a road-heavy schedule. Only 2 home games so far this year. They return home this week, 1 p.m., and they're hosting number 1. The number 1 team in the nation in Morningside University coming to town. The Lancers have a real shot to make some national headlines. The Mount Marty volleyball team hosted number 10 Dakota Wesleyan University on Saturday in the Simple Arena. Lancers did drop that game 3 sets. They now hold a 6-15 overall record. Now tomorrow evening, the Lancers are going to be hosting Morningside University in the Simple Arena. That game's going to begin at 7:30 p.m. at the Simple Arena. Coverage on KYNT, KYNTV. I will be there calling that one from the Simple Arena. Mount Marty Soccer hosted Dakota Wesleyan University at Crane Youngworth Field on Saturday as well, both men's and women's squads. The women's team did lose their contest 4-2. They dropped to 1-10-2 on the season. The men's contest, the Lancer men shut out the Tigers at home with a 4-0 win. Mount Marty is now 6-4-3 overall. Next up for both programs, they're going to be traveling to Morningside University on Saturday. The women's game will begin first at 1 p.m. The men's game immediately following on Saturday. So a lot of Morningside over the next couple of days. The soccer programs, the volleyball program, and the football program all playing them this week. Mount Marty versus Morningside. It's basically just what the week is. It's Morningside week for every single program. Let's go ahead and go back to our feature interview of the day. Coach Dan Fitzsimmons in the booth with me this morning. I had a great talk with him. That interview coming up after the break.
We were founded on innovation and a passion to help our customers. This is Glenn Zupfer at Aztec in Yankton. We also want our employees to thrive and succeed every day. Our core values are more than something we list on a wall. We live them every day. We have openings in a variety of departments, sign-on bonuses up to $2,000, immediate benefits like retirement savings, paid holidays, bonus earnings, tuition reimbursement, and more. Build your career with a group that's built to connect from rock to road. Stop by for a walk-in interview or click on careers at aztecindustries.com.
You want peace of mind that you're healthy. Support your breast health by getting a mammogram every year starting at age 40. Multiple Avera Breast Center locations across the region offer easy access. We'll create a screening plan that makes sense for you. You have access to specialized breast cancer experts should you need it. Find a screening location near you at avera.org/breast.
Mount Marty Lancer Athletics on KYNT and KYNTV, courtesy of Shinerbach. Brewed with rich roasted barley malt and German specialty hops, this lightly hopped American-style dark lager always goes down easy. This football season or any season, tip back a Bock. Paired perfectly with tailgating, porch sitting, washer tossing, dog petting, and literally anything. Shiner Bock, available year-round at your favorite place to buy beer.
As a proud community bank, Core Trust delivers more than just checking and savings accounts. We invest in the cities and towns where we live and work by volunteering to coach youth sports teams, supporting local charities and the arts with our time and resources. Whether we live in a rural town in South Dakota or a suburban city in Minnesota, it's a place we call home. Core Trust Bank. Raise your expectations.
Member FDIC.
Don't just bank, be an explorer. Here at Explorers Credit Union, we do banking differently. As a not-for-profit, member-owned credit union, we know that financial wellness isn't a destination, it's a journey. We're here to help you set goals and reach them with the financial tools, expertise, and support you need. If you're looking for better rates on your loans and local service from your friends and neighbors, Explorers Credit Union has you covered. Learn how we can help your financial journey at explorerscu.com.
All right, back in the Lancer locker, I am Tehl Tanner. Coach Dan Fitzsimmons now in the booth with me, a longtime Yankton man on his first appearance on the Lancer locker. Good morning, sir.
Well, good morning, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been looking forward to having you on pretty much since the announcement came that you were coming back to Mount Marty, coming back to Yankton itself, even though you never left. You've lived here the whole time.
Yeah, I've lived here since 1986, and it's kind of ironic because when I first came to Yankton for many years, they would always introduce me as Dan Fitzsimmons from New York. So it's really nice to be Dan Fitzsimmons from Yankton finally.
Absolutely. Dan Fitzsimmons from Yankton. Been here since 89. You've been a coach here since 97, where you were coaching Yankton High School cross country, head coach of the track and field program since 2002. Then you go over to USD for the last 14 years. Is that correct?
Yes.
14 years where you were able to pick up, I believe, 5 Summit League Coach of the Years, 48 conference individual titles for your athletes, and 5 Summit League Women's Championships in cross country in a row. That was some incredible success you had at USD. How were you able to get all of that success in that time span?
Well, one, you have to believe in what you're selling, and I certainly believed in the University of South Dakota. It's my alma mater, so it wasn't a really hard sell for me, and we just found a lot of really good human beings that were good students, good teammates, hard workers that came together and believed in each other maybe more than they believed in themselves. And when you kind of have that chemistry, only positive things can happen. And we just got on a roll there. It didn't happen overnight. I mean, the first 7 or 8 years as we were going through the transition, recruiting was a little bit tougher. But as we started putting the pieces together, we just really developed a really strong program, and it had a lot of depth and a lot of numbers. Which was very reminiscent of the teams we had at Yankton.
And you weren't just coaching cross country either. You were teaching while you were at USD. I know that firsthand because I took one of your classes. I don't know if you remember. I was in your coaching class 3 years ago now, I think it was.
Yeah, I actually taught about 2 classes a semester. Eventually that switched from face-to-face to online, especially after COVID. But yeah, I was doing that 2 classes a semester and then 2 online classes during the summer. When I left Yankton, I was getting paid pretty good, and so that was nice to be able to supplement my pay with the teaching, and it's something I've always enjoyed doing anyway.
Absolutely. So now you make the transition to Mount Marty. I want to talk about the process. Randy Fisher and you have obviously had a great relationship over the last couple of years. Let's walk through the process of coming to Mount Marty in the first place. When did these talks start?
Well, it's kind of ironic. Randy and I have actually been friends for 40 years.
40 years, wow.
Yeah, I came to South Dakota back in '82. I went to the University of South Dakota, and Randy's brother Monty was my teammate. And we ran the steeplechase together, so we were training mates, and then we lived together during the summer. He was a little bit older than me, but we shared a bedroom together for the summer, trained like crazy. Back in that time, there was not a lot of people in Vermilion, and we got to know each other very well. And of course, knowing Monty meant I had to know Randy. And as I went over to Yankton High School, Randy was coaching, and I got to be friends with him, and we ran some USA track and field cross-country type meets up in Salem, where he was coaching at the time. And we just kind of developed this relationship. And, when Chuck had called me, it was 15, 16 years ago, and said, hey, I know you're not interested, because he'd asked me once to have the Mount Marty job. And I said, no, I got things rolling here at Yankton, but there's this guy that's knocking it out of the park at Dakota State, Randy Fisher. Maybe he'd be interested. Well, lo and behold, he called Randy, and Randy took the position, and then we got to be around each other for a little bit, because I was still at Yankton. But then ironically, where I didn't plan on leaving Yankton at all, I shortly after went over to USD.
That's a really cool story. So you guys have just known each other for a long time. Now you're finally working together on the same team. How long has it been since you've actually worked together?
Well, when I was at Yankton, we worked a little bit together, because the Mount Marty athletes would come and work all our home meets. And so we got to be around each other and shared the track. But now we physically get to work, for the same program at the same time. Actually, my son, Sean, and his wife, Ramsey, worked for Randy for a year also. So, this is not something that's just limited to me. It's been kind of a family thing. Randy, they were looking for some part-time work, and they were finishing up school, and they were living here in town, and Randy offered them a coaching position. So just kind of keeping it in the family.
That's really nice to hear. It's always love to see that in small town South Dakota. As we continue to talk about your transition from from USD to Mount Marty, let's talk about some of the reasons you wanted to come back to Yankton. I always say come back to Yankton, but you've lived here the whole time. So it really is Dan Fitzsimmons from Yankton instead of from New York these days. But some of the other reasons you wanted to come back to Mount Marty or come back to Yankton in the first place.
Well, it's kind of weird. I mean, you have a bucket list, and as you get older, that bucket list gets a little bit more important. And, it's not that I feel like I've accomplished everything I've always wanted to accomplish, whether it be at Yankton. I mean, there's still always a little part of me that wishes I was still at Yankton High School, and there'll always be a part of me that wishes I was still at USD. But this Mount Marty thing's always been kind of in the back of my mind. I mean, about 30 years ago when the program was first getting going, Chuck Iverson and I met. And I said, hey, Chuck, how come you guys don't have a cross-country and track team? And he said, good question. We've been thinking about putting one together. And he kind of listened, and I remember he and I brought a proposal together, and that's when they first offered me the position. But at that time, the position would be part-time, and they wanted my family to move into residential housing to be a resident hall director. And I was like, I'm not ready to do that with my family, so I passed on it. But it's something I've always been close friends with all the coaches. Marlon and Brink and I are still very good friends. Rob Kennedin's been a coach. Jim Miner's helped out. I mean, so these have all been a lot of my very close coaching friends. And so I always felt like no matter if I stayed in Yankton and lived in Yankton, I always felt at some time and point I would coach at Mount Marty in some capacity. Ironically, we've been trying to move to Vermilion because it would have just been easier, but we wanted my wife to finish her career at the Yankton School District, so she retired a little over a year ago, and so then that became more of a reality. Okay, do we move to Vermilion or do we stay in Yankton? And then just out of the blue in June here, and Andy Bernardo approached me and said, hey, Randy's thinking of retiring. And he said to give you a call because he thought you'd be interested in the position. Because, ironically, about 2 months earlier, Lucky said to me, he said, hey, if the Mount Marty job ever opened, would you take it? I said, well, I'm happy here at USD. And I generally was. It wasn't like, but the idea that I love my house in Yankton, I love living in Yankton. And then, of course, you do the economics of selling a house, buying a house, all those kinds of things. We almost have our house paid off, and I live 6 blocks from campus. I get to see my wife over lunch and those types of things. It's kind of hard to turn that down.
Yeah, absolutely. Hard to turn that down for sure. Well, Coach Fitzsimmons, a couple more things I wanted to talk about before the break. You've always been a runner, right? You've always just been a runner yourself.
Yeah, I did. I have some arthritis developing in my knees, so I ended a 6.5-year running streak outside here this past May. It was kind of hard, but the knees were starting to go, and they're starting to feel better, but I'm not quite ready to start returning to running yet. But up until that point, I've kept a running log since I was in the 6th grade. And
wow.
I haven't totaled up all my miles, but yeah, there's been a lot of miles on these knees, and I'm kind of missing it right now. But right now I've been transitioning to going out with the runners and riding bike alongside.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. So running log, you've kept track of how kind of far you run since basically the 6th grade. So if you really wanted to, you could go back and add up the mileage that entire time.
Yeah, I probably could. Yeah.
Okay, give me an estimate.
I really have no idea. I haven't looked at a total for so long because as I've gotten older and I've gotten slower, 20-minute run in the morning used to be, I probably could get 3 or 4 miles in,
Yeah.
And before my knees started going, 20 minutes, I'd be lucky if I got, 1.75 miles and 2 miles in.
I gotcha.
So I stopped looking at the total just because it was getting to be a little hard to swallow that, boy, I'm really slow now.
The career one will be really cool to see just how high that number is if you ever do add that up, though. I would love to see that. Well, this is the Lancer Locker on KYNT. Coach Dan Fitzsimmons in the booth with me. We're going to take a break, come back a little bit more, talk about Mount Marty itself, the season the men's and women's cross-country programs are having, and the Mount Marty Invite coming up this Saturday. The Lancer Locker, KYNT, back after this.
Support a local business that supports schools and events and provides fuel discounts for Yankton's largest employers, Triple Time Rudy's. At Triple Time Rudy's, you get that local friendly feel and also a unique offering of products. You'll find quality South Dakota products like Dimmick cheese and premium meats from the Kaler and Renner lockers, plus quality fuel products too. Conveniently located at 17th and Broadway for your daily fill-ups and convenience needs. Pull in to Triple Time Rudy's today. Oktoberfest is a brief moment of fall beer drinking beauty, so have Samuel Adams Oktoberfest on hand as the nights get cooler and the days a little shorter. Smooth taste with the roasty sweetness and light hop character that's only available for a short time. Kick off cooler weather with food and friends and don't miss a moment with Samuel Adams Oktoberfest. Grab it while you can at your favorite place to buy beer.
Quit smoking, and in just 20 minutes, your blood pressure returns to normal. In 12 hours, carbon monoxide levels in your blood drop. In 48 hours, your sense of smell and taste improve. Within 2 weeks, your lungs work better, you heal faster. 9 months means more energy, fewer illnesses. And in 5 years, your risk of heart attack is half of what it is now. Take a deep breath. You can do this. Call the Quit line at 866-SDQUITS.
United Way of Greater Yankton changes lives and improves our community by mobilizing people and resources to drive strategic impact in education, financial stability, and health of every person in the Greater Yankton community. United Way uplifts individuals and families every day with measurable programs that deliver long-term results. Make your gift United Way's Community Impact Fund, supporting over 65 local programs at yanktonunitedway.org/give or text Yankton to 41444.
Bring the crew to Pete's Ranch in Yankton. This is Annie, and we have legendary pizza and chicken just waiting for you on our buffet. Let us know what you're craving, and we'll make it fresh and bring you the first slice. Or let us deliver right to your front door. Your locally owned Yankton Pizza Ranch on Broadway, 665-1222.
It's where life tastes better. Surround them up and head her down to the Pizza Ranch. Whoa, that's good.
Back on the Lancer Locker, some more from Coach Dan Fitzsimmons. Not from New York, from Yankton. He's from Yankton, been here a long time, and is now coaching at Mount Marty. One of the things that we were talking about in the break and things that I want to talk about now is kind of how to get started running if you're somebody like me who is wildly out of shape. How could I kind of get started? What are some of the trails, ways that I could get into shape and have running be a hobby for myself instead of just something that you force yourself to do, something you love to do?
Well, I mean, Yankton's a great outdoor community. I mean, when I was coaching at USD, we traveled to Minnesota a lot, and I noticed every town you went into Minnesota had a lot of outdoor activities, particularly bike trails, running trails, hiking trails, those types of things. And, when you look across the state of South Dakota, I mean, Sioux Falls is developing some things, but, more of a metropolitan area, it's kind of hard to have, river access like we do on the Missouri and have a trail system that runs along it. So, if you have a place in Yankton that you like visiting and you like to see scenery, I mean, you go out to the lake and they've got a paved trail. You go out past Gavin's Point. There's some hiking trails. We call them the horse trails. Many years ago, they used to be a single file deer trail Bob Muth actually took me out there the very first time to run it with John Nothice. And that became our Sunday morning running club. We would meet at the hospital. I'll jump in Bob Muth's van, and about 8 or 9 of us would go out there and run all over Lewis and Clark Lake and up into the horse trails. And years later, 2 of our athletes, Matt Altoff and Nick Altoff, as part of Eagle Scout projects, developed the trail systems and mapped them and labeled them. And now, the last time I went out there, I've seen they've made additions to those trails out there as well. Then, just across the bridge, the Meridian Bridge, we used to, we heard years ago the famous Gene Johnson, the great Yankton runner, used to run across the bridge out to the dam and back to town. So, of course, we had to try that a few times. And, of course, at the time, the Meridian Bridge was Highway 81. So that was a little scary. So now that's a walking, running bridge. And that gave us access to the trail system that's across the bridge that we used to go run, particularly on those rainy, snowy days where we'd like to get sloppy and messy and just kind of play around. Now that's a trail system over there. We actually took our women's team over there this past week, and for many of them, it was the first time that they even ran on those trails there. And there's a nice 2-mile loop you can get in the trail. And, if you're looking to just start off and walking and running, it's kind of a nice place to go to get away. And, the hardest part for a lot of runners is you don't know how you look running, so you don't want to be seen. So it's a great place to go hide and not be seen.
That's definitely something I'm looking for. I grew up West River, South Dakota, over by the hills. Mm-hmm. Trail running was always one of my favorite things in high school when I ran track and field. So that's nice to hear that you can kind of do that in this area as well. I'm still kind of new to Yankton and the area, so that's nice. Let's turn our attention to your programs themselves and the seasons that are having. Mount Marty Invite going to be this weekend in Yankton, South Dakota. Why don't you just talk about this invite for a moment? Tell me what's kind of going on and where it's at.
Well, it's the 29th running of the Mount Marty Invitational. It's kind of become the event before conference for many of the GPAC teams. And then some of the area D2s and D1s will actually send some athletes that are trying to make their squads for their conference championships. So we now have the course out at Fox Run again. I'm still putting it together because we've made some changes from last year. It's amazing how much the Fox Run course has developed over the years. I can remember running on it when the trees were all very tiny and skinny, and now they've kind of taken over some places of the course that we used to run, and backyards have flourished. And it's just interesting to see how, from 14 years ago when we used to go out there and run every morning, Dave Dannenbring and I would run around Hillcrest and run around Fox Run as part of our morning run, that some of those places don't quite exist anymore. So we'll get that going at about 10:30 in the morning is the women's 5K. And then that'll be followed by the men's 8K at 11:15. So we'll be out there early on Saturday morning, finishing up whatever you need to do to set up, and hopefully have a great competition. We're anticipating anywhere from 10 to 12 teams coming, and several of the GPAC teams will be there, and so we'll get to see some really good competition.
Well, Coach Fitzsimmons, let's talk about these two programs individually for a moment. Started off with the women's program, highlight some of the athletes that are working so hard for you this season. Who are some of these athletes?
Well, they're all working really hard, and they've all showed steady improvement as the season has progressed. And right now, Kaya Trainer has been kind of our leader, and Emily Johnson has been right there with her. And ironically, those two were teammates in high school as well. And so they're kind of pacing the Lancer women. And on the men's side, Brian Santiago's been, our number 1 runner all season, and our number 2 runner's been trading back and forth a little bit between Chris Gonzalez and Teig Tveit. And Teig's a freshman, having an outstanding season, but, if you're not the number 1 guy, it's not quite as noticeable. But he's running very well. He's very comparable to where Brian was as a freshman. So we see great things coming out of him as the season develops and as his career goes on. We have roughly 8 or 9 men and women on the team. Some are a little bit banged up. You get a little soreness, and, of course, cold season's going around. So we had a few yesterday morning that weren't feeling quite so well. But we're looking to grow that number in the future so we have a little bit more depth and versatility. Because, running a cross-country season with that number is running 8K is a long way. And you got to score 5 to have a team, and so it's, you got to kind of manage and try and pick and choose what battles you want to fight, because, you're not very good if you're not running. So we're trying to keep them as healthy as possible, with conference being in November here up in Jamestown, North Dakota. So we still have a couple of weeks yet of training we can get in. It's been fun. It's been exciting, and like I said, they've all been working really hard, and that's the biggest thing. Is I'm just trying to figure out. They're trying to learn me. I'm trying to learn a little bit more about them, and we're trying to figure out, what buttons you can push in terms of trying to get the most out of their time and ability. Naturally we have some seniors, so you can't just change everything. And at the same time, there's a lot of positive things that Randy Fisher left in place that I want to build upon.
Absolutely. Well, Coach Fitzsimmons, I appreciate you taking the time today. The Mount Marty Invite this Saturday, October 22nd, starting at 10:30 a.m. in Yankton, South Dakota. Fox Run course there. And then the GPAC meet will be November 5th up in Jamestown. You got a couple weeks to get your squad healthy and compete at the conference meet. Thank you very much for taking the time today, Coach Fitzsimmons.
Thank you, and go Lancers.
Go Lancers. Take a break, come back. We'll finish it off in the Lancer Locker.
What's special about Slumberland is ours is a free service. They get to come into our store. It helps the customer understand how the space is going to work so that they don't feel nervous about their purchase. If you live locally, you can set up an appointment with one of our sales representatives where we can come into your home and help you understand if you want to go shopping in your own home and bring some different pieces in to help them work with maybe the new piece you're looking for.
Free interior design service at Yankton Slumberland, located at 2401 Broadway Avenue.
With grain carts getting bigger and better every year, don't you think it's time to outfit them accordingly? Sherco's 4500 Series HD electric tarp works seamlessly with existing Sherlock tarps. The heavy-duty extruded arms are the strongest on the market and come with a lifetime warranty. Operating is easy and convenient with one of our smart remote options that let you open and close your tarp with the push of a button. Call to order yours today at 1-800-474-8756. When you need to be sure, make it Sherco.
Beef, pork, seafood, poultry, and more. All at the Meat Lodge in Yankton. Get top quality meats at great prices. They have specialty items like lamb, brisket, mahi-mahi, crab legs, and lobster. They even have non-meat options like Dimmick cheese, pickled items, seasonings, and sauces. For your convenience, you can call and order curbside pickup or order online at meatlodge.com. The Meat Lodge in Yankton, on the way to the lake on Highway 52.
Buying or selling your home is one of the biggest decisions you may make in your lifetime. I'm Deb Speck with Vision Real Estate, and I'm ready to help guide you with professional advice from before the listing until after the close. Not only will you get real estate knowledge, but also we provide moving boxes and an enclosed courtesy trailer to help make the move just a little easier. Call me today at 664-5555.
You may not think of the flu as a serious disease, but complications can lead to severe illness, hospitalization, even death. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommends everyone over the age of 6 months get a flu vaccine every year. Yankton Medical Clinic is offering flu shots by appointment only. Call today to schedule your flu shot or visit yanktonmedicalclinic.com/flu to learn more. Protect yourself and your loved ones this flu season. Get your flu shot today. So much care, so close to home.
Well, that was a great talk with Coach Fitzsimmons on the Lancer Locker today. That's going to do it for everything we have. We had a feature interview with a returning man to Yankton, a Hall of Fame coach, a guy who I have a whole bunch of respect for that is going to do some great things with Mount Marty University, cross country, track and field. The indoor season will start December 3rd as well. All right, that's going to do it for the Lancer Locker today. Let's go next up in Lancer Athletics. The football program once again will be hosting Morningside University this Saturday at noon, or at 1 p.m. Coverage begins at noon on a KYNT, KYNTV. Myself and Steve Toom have the call. Mount Marty Volleyball will be hosting Morningside tomorrow evening. KYNT, KYNTV in coverage as well. I'll be there tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. That one will begin. And then the soccer program also going to be battling Morningside. They will be on the road Saturday. 1 p.m. will be the first game. The women will go first. The men's game will be after that. And this weekend, the Mount Marty Invite for cross country at Fox Run. This is KYNT 102.1 FM, AM 1450. I appreciate you taking the time to spend with me on a Monday afternoon here in Yankton, South Dakota. Big shout out to all of our listeners all around. I know we've got listeners down in Texas, out in Hawaii, everywhere you can think of. Appreciate you guys tuning in. This is KYNT, the Lancer Locker. I'm Tehl Tanner. We'll see you next time.